What is going on, Millennial Morticians? Happy Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of this incredible podcast. I'm wishing you guys and your families a very happy Thanksgiving. Take the time off, spend time with them, enjoy recipes with family and friends, and hopefully, if you can, get some time outside of the funeral home and handle business. The title of today's episode is called Back to the Basics. And today we're talking about mortuary schools and how there have been bits and pieces of information that haven't been shared with students, with faculty on where the future of funeral service is looking like and how we as individuals in that industry can reshape and redefine how we're learning in our mortuary colleges. I thought about this topic during the NFDA convention this year when I went to New Orleans. I was able to talk to a former president of NFDA, and me and him had a great conversation about what does mortuary school accreditation look like? What's the process like? How has it been for me? And I was open and honest with him. I said, the classes are in short classes and short attendance rates are affecting the overall attendance of these courses and how much they're offered. So, for example, I have an embalming 1 class, but it's only offered in the springtime. And embalming 2 is only offered in the fall. So let's say you fail a class or something comes up, then you have to wait a whole another year to retake a whole nother course. And who wants to do that? No one. So it's pushing students back graduation wise. And to me, that affects not just the overall morality of the students, but it affects the turnout of morticians that we have entering the field. And I want to see growth. I want to see more morticians populating all over the country. And these old mortuary school standards have really strained our industry and are really straining the student body. And I don't think people have really shined a light on the changes that need to be made. I think it's one of those things that is taboo in our industry that we know about, but we don't really talk about. And I think it would be great to start having some of these bigger mortuary institutions attend these conventions. You have some that show up, but the big dogs, the guys that, pulling out, 80% of the students, they need to show their face at these conventions and really explain to us what the future of our industry looks like and what did it entail for us to do to make things better. And so the problem I'm having is right now is technology and innovation being one of the turning factors in our industry. And we're not really putting a whole lot of insight into it, a whole lot of look into it. And we're not big on teaching the students like me about technology. Everything I've had to learn technology-wise concerning the funeral business, I've had to learn by myself. Nobody in mortuary school taught me anything. I had to take maybe one IT course as a prerequisite, but that's it. And so it's these basic things that are needed, basic fundamentals of funeral services, which are causing these overall strains in certain segments of our innovation, such as technology, which is why when the pandemic first began, we had so many problems with funeral directors not wanting to live stream funerals or spend time doing emails. They just had bad experiences with technology, extremely bad trauma from having to go through the pandemic. And a part of that is because they weren't trained ahead of time in mortuary school to take on those tasks. Another course that needs to be taught in mortuary schools is inclusion. We haven't had a course on inclusionary things. The world is changing and evolving. Like I always tell you guys in my audience, you guys out there, the Millennial Morticians, we know that we stay ahead of the game. And I'm always talking about what's to come. And a big topic of discussion I've heard come up is with these new genders coming out and people referring to themselves as different genders and things like that. How do we as funeral professionals maneuver through those challenges and those differences? And mortuary school needs to give us a course on inclusion, on how to treat those people, on how to handle those families that come in with special requests or have different sexual orientations, and what does the service look like? And it's just things like that that are changing that people aren't considering. And this might not have been something we had to think about 30 or 40 years ago, but it's definitely something that's important and that really matters to people now and that people are really passionate about. And so we're supposed to be the gear to help people heal and get through a tough time. Then we need to be ahead of the game on really putting our biggest foot forward and finding out about them and learning about them. We've had to do it with any and every other religion and any and every other belief system that we've taught in mortuary school. So it should be the same thing with people. And as more women are entering the field and entering mortuary science, we need to have inclusionary courses because this funeral service used to be an extremely male dominated industry. And I'm glad to say and proud to say that there are many more women in this industry than ever before. And my mentor happened to be one of those strong women that helped me propel through this industry. So mortuary schools really need to redefine their target audience and what makes them different, what sets them apart. To me, they all seem pretty standard and pretty the same, but there's things that they're missing out on that could really redefine those institutions and make them, incredible places for the future um, morticians that are coming up. Some things that we need to let go of in school is this whole taboo of us teaching them just to get them through the state and national boards. And I say that to say, although that's the ultimate goal, we want you to be a licensed funeral director and mortician at the very end. It's going to happen for you. I believe it is. It's going to happen for you. But there's some skills that some of these teachers know, and they're just not willing to share them with certain students or with the general public because they don't want them to do better than you. They don't want you to become better than them in the field. And to me, that's not very fair. That's not good practices. If I'm a teacher or if I'm a leader, because that's what sets us apart on this podcast, I churn out leaders. I don't churn out managers. I churn out leaders. And those leaders become owners and so on and so on. And there's a big problem with us not being effective in really diving into, okay, well, why can't this person be better than you? Every person that I train, I would want them to be 10 times as better than me, 30 times as better than me. And I think it's important for us to really go back to the basics of why we're in this business, why we signed up for this, why we're doing this, because I think the world is changing the positions of our hearts and our minds, and we're becoming more self-centered now than ever before. And we really got to break out of that. And so these next couple of weeks, I really want us to go back and let's really dig deep into these topics and these issues and go back to the bare basics, go back to the books that we've been learning from for the last 150 years. I mean, some of the equipment we still use in embalming practices haven't been changed in over 500 years. I mean, it's just been that long. And so to break out of that stagnation, you have to teach and engage students in a way that is opening their minds to the future of the business that's constantly changing and growing. And the only way you can really do that is if you yourself are invested in change. And so what you're going to see over the next couple of years is these older teachers, these older professors, these major mortuary institutions, they're going to die. They're going to retire and they're going to move on into different career fields. And you're going to see a rise up of more people coming into the business who have open-minded thinking and inclusionary thoughts. And they're gonna say, hey, listen, if you're like me and we're in business, all of us are in business, money's green from anyone. So we're going to take the money and we're going to service the family the best way we can because we're in business. And a lot of times, families oftentimes, most of them, forget that we are a business and that we are a for-profit business. And although our ultimate goal, what we sell is peace of mind and assurance and giving people comfort during a tough time, we also have to look at the business from all aspects. And I think schools, mortuary schools, let this episode be a real heads up and a real brain churn to make you think about what the future is looking like for your institution, because there's going to be a fight for students coming up pretty soon in mortuary colleges. I know attendance in the regular four-year institutions has been dwindling just because of the high cost of tuition. But in mortuary school, it's really going to be a fight for students coming up real soon. And we're going to see who's prepared themselves, who has a great plan, who has a great staff, who's teaching more classes about the people, because the people is what makes this job unique. The bodies practically do themselves. That stuff is going to get done no matter what. It's the people and how you interact with people that makes you a valuable player in this game that we call funeral services. And so this week, I want you guys to go back to the basics. I want you guys to look in those books. I want you guys to learn in your funeral home. I want you guys to really engage with your staff and say, there's some things I need to change, and I'm willing to change them. Go to your mortuary schools. Ask questions to these people. I mean, you pay them tuition. You pay them thousands of dollars every single semester. Ask them some questions. Get their brains thinking and say, how can we make this 10 times better so that if anybody else I know wants to get into this business, they feel comfortable here. And I don't think funeral services has been a comfortable industry for a lot of people for a long time, not just because of the nature of the business, but also because of how hard we make it to get into this business. And so open your hearts, open your minds this week. I want you guys to explore that. Enjoy your time with your family during this Thanksgiving. I'm your host, Jaden Folks. This is another episode of the Millennial Mortician podcast, a podcast that engraves. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Stay blessed, and I look forward to hearing the changes that come